Good morning and welcome to the video for Thursday, May the 7th. This is for 5th grade, and today we are going to be working on our lesson with three-dimensional figures. So really quick, the thing that's going to make three-dimensional figures a little bit different than what we've worked on in the past is there is a third dimension, which is height. So for instance, if we were to look at the shape that I'm circling with my mouse right now, it looks like that would be a pentagon. So that is going to be the base shape of that. So our base would be a shape of a pentagon, and then we are going to have additional faces that go around the side of that shape. And so if we wanted to find the area of this, which you guys will eventually be doing as you move into 6th grade, then we would find the measurements of each of these as well as the top and the bottom. And then after that, next year, you'll end up working with finding the entire area and volume, which would be the inside portion of that shape as well. So we can classify prisms by their basic shape that's used for the base of the shape. So our first one here, this would be an example of a rectangle as the basic shape. So it would be a rectangular prism. So I'm going to kind of skip writing some of this just because of the length of time it would take to do this. This one would be a pentagon, and so we would have a pentagonal prism for that. Then we would have a hexagonal prism. And then this one would be, I believe, an octagonal prism. Yeah, there's 8 sides there. So octagon would be the basic shape, and then the solid figure would be an octagonal prism. So let's go on to pyramids. So pyramids are polyhedrons. So again, polyhedron is going to be our three-dimensional figure. The proper term for that we would use for math, it would be polyhedron. I will usually refer to it as a three-dimensional figure. So we're going to have the triangle being the base here. And so if I could figure out where I put all of my stuff, I have a series of dice that are different shapes. And so one of those that I have has a triangle as the base. And so if I were to roll that particular die, I was looking to see if I could find it. This is a different one. This is a 20-sided die. This one would have 20 triangles as each base, but it's not a triangular shape like the pyramid would be. So our basic shape would be a triangle, and it would be a triangular pyramid. The base for this one is going to be a square, so it would be a square pyramid. And the base for this one would have 5 sides, so our bottom surface of that will have 5 sides, so that would be a pentagonal pyramid. And then we have some things that are not polyhedrons. So one of our homework questions is going to ask about that. So to be a polyhedron, it has to have sides. So we classify it based on having sides and angles. And if we don't have any sides that have line segments, we can't count the number of sides that it has. So we have a cone here. It does have a base, so we could kind of say, yeah, it has a side. It has a bottom side to it. But we can't actually measure in the term of being a polyhedron for that. So we would have a cone, and so it extends in towards a single vertex at the top. A cylinder is going to have 2 congruent circular bases and a curved surface. So we are not going to have a vertex at all on this shape. And then a sphere, you guys are all familiar with that. A globe or most round objects could be classified as spherical. So there is no base, and there is one singular curved surface that moves around the entire shape. So to look at share and show, right now we are going to work with prism, pyramid, cone, cylinder, or sphere. So I want you to pause the video real quick, see what you come up with for that, and when you're ready, go ahead and hit play. I am probably going to go ahead and abbreviate just to save time. So for this one, I'm not going to have a shape that would classify it. We could maybe almost say that it would be a pyramid, but it doesn't really work as well. I would say that this one would be a prism, so it would be a rectangular prism. This is going to be, our next one is going to be a sphere. This is going to be a pyramid. Again, you could probably argue that this might end up being a pyramid. The only reason I would say it maybe doesn't work out that way is whereas we have this and everything comes together to a single vertex on the top, this shape does not do that. So that would be what I would say would be the difference between those. So pyramid, this one is going to be a prism. Number 5 is going to be a pyramid. And the last one is going to be a cylinder. And so as we move on to our next page, we are again working with the same classifications. The homework part is probably going to be really easy with the exception of 1 or 2 questions where they have to make us work a little bit harder. So this is going to be a prism. This is going to be a cylinder. This is going to be a cone. This is going to be a probably a triangular prism. Eventually, they'll ask you for both parts of that. So they'll also ask you to give the classification of the base. So it's not only just a prism, but it is a triangular prism. So this one will be a pyramid. This one's going to be a prism. Again, we're probably looking at a triangular base here for that, and then we would have 3 faces. This one is going to be a prism. Number 14 is going to be a pyramid. And number 15 is going to be a prism. And so as we go to the problem solving questions, what is another name for a cube? So I would definitely suggest you take a look at that one. So the cube is what we abbreviate that down to. So if we take a look at our classifications back here, we could say that that would be a I guess quadrilateral prism, I guess would be the term that you could use for that. So if we look back here, or it could be technically a rectangular prism as well, would be what I would say for that. So characteristics of prisms and pyramids. I want to do this one because I've kind of mentioned it. So how they are similar is going to have to do with the shape of the base. So we're going to classify it based on the shape of the base. And so for this one, if we have this as a pyramid, then we are looking at a square base or a rectangular base, and so we would call that a rectangular prism or a pyramid. So here's our prism, here's our pyramid. The differences would be that all of the faces come up on a pyramid to a single endpoint or vertex. A prism is not always going to have that. So if I take this shape here, being a prism, I am going to have a top face, and there's going to be a line segment that runs across the top of that. But while it all meets at that particular point, it's not a single endpoint in the same way that the pyramid is. So that's the way that I would explain the difference for that. I hope I gave the right idea for number 17. I'll double check that. I'll put a retraction in the comments if I mis-explained that. But earlier we were saying that we could classify rectangles and squares as the same for if we're working with a polyhedron. So I would argue that you could say that it is a rectangular prism. So number 2 for the homework through number 9, all of these are kind of the same kind of idea. Once we get down to number 10 and 11, So number 11 is the one that I was suggesting you might want to take a look at. So we're looking at cylinders or spheres for this, why that would not count as a polyhedron. And so, oh wait, a square pyramid and said all of the faces are triangles. Think about that for a moment. So we have an example, if we were to look back here, that this could possibly be a square pyramid. So all of our faces here are the same shape, and then we have a square as the base. So you can use that one to help you. And then on the back, we don't have anything too crazy here. So going back to working with trapezoids and parallelograms, think about what the classification for a trapezoid means and how many matching pairs of sides that it has to have to be a trapezoid compared to a parallelogram. So hope that helps you give you an idea of what to expect for the homework, as well as explain the lesson. Again, I'll double check that one thing real quick, and then if I made a mistake or not, I'll post in the description for the video if I need to make a retraction or if I explain that in a way that was what I was trying to say and might make sense. So, excuse me, the homework for this will come out on Friday morning, as will our final lesson of the week, and then the homework video for that lesson will come out at 6 p.m. on Friday. So, hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.